make your own rice paste. It's just a little rice starch. Um, uh, and then you would, okay, just as an example, you would, or should I take a little one? No, this is fine.
Yeah.
I guess I'm getting ahead of myself a little, but just to give you an example how this works so this doesn't dry out, I would roll this. Now it's not covering the block very well because I have to get some more ink on there, but it's fun. You can see that. And you, okay. Like a
Yeah.
stamp? Yeah, it kind of like a stamp. Yeah, a little bit, but a little more complicated than a stamp because I'll show you the next step. This is not going to look great because the ink is a little dry. Let me add a little more so you can see. I don't want to. There we go. Oh, okay. And you can use a lot of different things to make a print, a relief print. Molly was telling us about using erasers when she was in high school to make like, have you ever heard of a potato print? Have you ever made a potato print? Well, I remember when I was in Girl Scouts a long time ago, we made potato prints. Same idea, because you're carving away, and the stuff that you're carving away, the rice paste gives it a little body, because watercolor is kind of watery. I'm just gonna.
It's like a medium, and there are other kinds of mediums. Like you can get acrylic medium if you wanted to do like more traditional woodblock printing ink, but you can also just get like the ink
Yeah.
by itself.
That's what he's gonna show you later.
Yeah, this is black, but they come in every color you can imagine.
Yeah.
And if you can imagine a color that it doesn't come in, that's where you would get just like the uncolored ink block medium, and then you could add your own pigments to that if you really wanted to.
Yeah,
Yeah, they do.
you can get metallic, yes. They make a lot of different stuff now. I dampened the paper beforehand. You use this very thin paper, usually for traditional watercolor ones. And then I would like to rub it so that the ink gets into the fibers of the paper. What did I do? Oh, but I wanted to use the traditional one. Where did that go? This is, apparently, it's what I would have thought is rice paper, but the Japanese use mulberry. It's not really made out of rice. It was like a misnomer, but so it is Japanese paper mostly, or Thailand also makes the paper. So I'm rubbing it. This is their traditional kind of, what they call this a baron. Is that right? I get my words mixed up. This is a brayer for the roller, and this is a baron. And he's got the manufactured baron, but this is the traditional one. It's got like bamboo leaf around it. But you could use, the other thing is you could just use a spoon. I brought that, and rub it. You don't have to use the tools. Now, you could, but you're gonna get a very different look.
I have
but you could.
I have an example of that actually from the thin print.
Now I'm pulling this up.
So.
Isn't that cool? Isn't that fun? That's what they call pulling a print. So it's a lot of fun, sort of like when you're in the dark room and a photo comes out, you just don't exactly know what's going to come out. You did? Oh, lucky you.
This is like I wanted to do more colors for this print, so I kind of tried to paint them along, but as you can see, you don't get as clean a result versus versus like the monoprint one color. It's a lot cleaner. This was actually I'll demonstrate this technique too with literally this block. So
the brush, the thing is you can really do what you want. I'm just going to wash this block. I have to wash the block off because otherwise then the ink, it's called ink, but it's just paint, will just dry on there. So I'm just going to wash it off a little. Yeah, you want to clean up as you go because otherwise things.
If you get a really thick piece of wood, you can just use a planer and get to the next year.
Oh, you mean and get rid of the original drawing, you mean, and go, yeah, but you,
So you keep the print, I guess.
yeah, you could do that, but you'd run out of wood pretty fast if you used a planer, I think. I don't know.
And speaking from my own experience, trying out different woods to carve, you really want to get like a softer wood. I tried because it just makes life easier for yourself. Like this stuff, this is a Shina plywood. Is like you can
Sheena, yeah.
Sheena, yeah. You can like make indents on this with your fingernail, so it's really nice to carve.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot. Versus like if you just got like some hardwood or cherry.
Mm-hmm.
I think traditionally Japanese prints use like a hard cherry because they wanted to make so many.
Yeah, the wood held up really well after. If you think about the paint and the moisture going on there, it can soften the wood. These are what the tools look like that you use to carve the wood block. I'm kind of going backwards, but they're kind of cool. They're yes, that's how. Yeah, I had an idea of this Brooklyn fire escape, the one you saw there. So that was what that was about. Arthur has that wonderful crow he did, but so you have to use sharp tools to cut the wood. That's actually one of the most fun parts, because you're cutting into the wood. It's very satisfying, but you do have to be a little careful. I have Band-Aids here. You can cut yourself. So one of the important things is you always carve away from yourself. So you have it on a firm table and you carve away from yourself, because if you put your hand, if you carve like that, you're definitely going to cut yourself, or you could risk cutting yourself. So you don't want to do that.
I guess you draw for this.
Yeah, yes, and that's, I kind of, yeah, I'm a little out of order. I'll show you how that works. You could take a drawing or a photograph, and then you want to transfer it to the block. Here's one that I was actually taking a picture, a photograph, and I'm transferring it to the block with this carbon paper. Can you see that? So it's just, where the playfulness will come in is probably I'll try different colors. But you could do you can also draw right onto the block. If you have an idea for something you'd like to do, you draw right on the block. Or you draw on one side of the block, and then on the other side, you draw another of the same, and you can actually do the darks on one side and the lights on the other. It's another way you can do it. So in the early 1900s, into the 1900s, European and Americans really became enamored with the Japanese woodblock, but they took it a little different direction. Instead of using these very fine papers, they made a thicker paper. Like the one this is on a thick paper. It's called Reeves BFK or Arches. And it's not doesn't have the same properties as the Asian paper, because it's very, very thin, but it's good for block printing ink because it's thick. So I'll show you some examples of like modern woodcut printing that was done. There's this is, oops. You could do very abstract things. Here's one where they've sanded down the wood. If you take a piece of sandpaper on your wood block, you can actually have the grain show up in the picture. Do you see the wood grain? Do you know what wood grain is? It's like the lines of the tree are actually visible in the print.
How do you do that?
With sandpaper. So if you sand it down, you actually can see the grain, and it can come through in the print, which is kind of interesting, isn't it? Yeah. And another thing is, there's just so many different things you could do, but some people might do a series of prints and then connect them, almost like tape them in the back, and you would never know that it's not just one print. I have an example of that. Wait. Give me 1 second. Here's one where they've used so many colors. This would have taken, and this one is done with multiple blocks. So you can imagine that would have a lot of colors. It's like a sea anemone, right? And you can also experiment with materials, like some people put salt or sesame seeds behind the paper to give it a little dots. This very beautiful landscape, they did that. They used sesame seeds behind the paper to give it little dots. Kind of fun. So you can be experimental. I'll show you. With the traditional Japanese, oh, here's the one that I mentioned, where the person made 6 different prints and then they connected them. So probably, isn't that amazing? That they probably taped them from behind, or which is interesting. I don't know how they did it so that it looked so good. Yeah, it's constructed from smaller prints. I don't exactly know how they did that, but it's interesting. Here are the individual blocks. See, they just, yeah. So you could do very loose abstract things, or you could do, this is representational of like a tree branch. You could use photographs. And if you're doing the traditional, if you're going the traditional route, the Japanese have some of the beautiful tools. Like this is a brush used to put water on the paper, which I did before you came, just to make the paper damp. But here, you can see that it's damp, but you just dip it in a little water. Where did I do? Oh yeah, I see it. I wondered where it went. Dip it in a little water. And just coat the paper and then you let it, you don't want it to be soaking wet when you print, but it does make the fibers absorb the ink better. So you would then set it aside to dry a little bit, yeah. You can keep it in a baggie to keep it damp, or you can just let it dry a little. Let's see, these are a few of also the traditional Japanese brushes. They're quite beautiful. They make them in different sizes. You see, after you use it, it just has a really nice way of the water dripping out, but you can use it. And this is another type called a bokashi. If you were doing the background of like a sunset or something, you wipe the ink very lightly on the wood block. No, they're definitely, I don't know which, boar hair maybe, but I don't know exactly. They seem very real. I think they are. But I've forgotten which animal. And then it's very important to keep the tools sharp, or else they don't, keep working. So they have a sharpening stone, and that, the tools are, the tools and the paper are the biggest investment if you want to do this. So you want to keep the tools in good shape. So you have to, at about a 30-degree angle, every time you use them, you have to sharpen them. 'Cause otherwise, they won't work.
But I do just want to interject that you don't the tools are really nice because they have the curves and stuff, but I've also had tremendous success with X-Acto knives and just regular, razor blades, the single-edged razor blade. Because you can get a pack of like 100 for like a few bucks, and those are always very sharp, but again, always cutting away from yourself, being very careful, but you can make some really nice, actually I think this one, both the crow and this tree were done mostly with razor blades and X-Acto knives. So
You just have to be very careful.
yeah, you just have to be careful.
Yeah, well, you could use one
Yeah.
with a handle, but because it's, a razor blade, it's even that much sharper. So that's all. I mean, yeah, and also, you're not carving away from you with the X-Acto knife, right? You kind of make a trench. Is that what you do usually?
Yeah, you kind of. It's really great for like creating barriers because a lot of these tools are really great for like hogging away a lot of material, but you want to create like a really nice sharp border first. So you kind of go down 30 degree, down 30 degree, you get a nice line.
I'm going to show them this. Another
yeah.
aspect of when you print it is that you don't, if, let's just say you were going to do a second color after we did that fire escape. When you do a second color, how do you make sure the paper lines up exactly as when you did the first color? And to do that, you sometimes use you could use something like this that you could make at home. It's just some styrofoam. Or you can put tape on the table. I have tape on this newspaper to show you where the paper goes. But this was a technique that's a little less common, but one of my teachers taught me is where you cut the pieces out of your print. This is simple, but with a coping saw, and then you could print each block a different color and print them all together, which is also, it's a little different, but it's interesting.
So what kind of tool would you use to like
A coping saw.
this?
Yeah, it's the one that looks like the shape of like a U, but a little longer. Is there another name for that?
It's like a handheld bandsaw. I don't really know. Is that,
It's not a bandsaw.
yeah, because that's,
but
but
it-
it's like
Yeah.
little C. I don't know. But you can also, I'm going to demonstrate. Like this is linoleum, which is another excellent printmaking material and much easier to cut if you wanted to do like kind of like a puzzle piece version. This tree was also done in linoleum. It's really, and it's literally like the floor stuff.
Yeah, the linoleum is, it's the same principle as the wood block, but it's more of a rubbery and a little cheaper. Although you,
This is like a
and
blank.
yeah, that's what it looks like before you carve it.
This would be a mounted linoleum block, and then this one is unmounted.
Cheaper than wood, you said?
Yeah. And the unmounted is cheaper than mounted, but it, it's, the mounted ones give you a little more stability. But this is also just like regular particle board, so you can get unmounted and mount it yourself.
You could do it
if
yourself,
that's
yeah,
something you
that's
feel-
right.
And there are also like these rubbers that are a little easier to carve linoleum, but don't
Yeah,
necessarily hold up
those
as
you
well.
can find in like craft stores, the pink rubbery stuff. It's not, it's, as you can see, it's soft. It's really easy to carve. It'd be a good thing for a child to try. And the same
should've brought some
principle,
of that.
really. You'd put a drawing on the block and carve it, yeah. I think he's just saying put a piece of backing since you
Yeah.
see the, yeah. Yeah, so if you had the unmounted one, you see it gets a little floppier, and
But
it's
not,
okay.
It's not as floppy. You see? We have different levels of rigidity.
Yes, yes. I mean, but if you had a good table and you could keep that thin linoleum solid, but the problem is when you start printing, if it gets damp on the back, because it has a little fabric on the back, it can get a little warped, from all the wet glue, wet ink, sorry. So that's why having a backing can be helpful.
So I guess if you, another alternative, I don't know, just guessing, this would be rather like electric things, you could probably just saw.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You mean to make a backing?
But like, no. but
Oh, yeah.
if you want to carve out the
Yeah, yes, yeah. Oh, an electric saw? Yeah. You mean like the kind that's on a machine?
chisels or something like to kind
Like a, maybe like a Dremel, you could
mean like a-
probably.
I don't know.
of, a lot of work in chipping away the wood.
Well,
Yeah.
but that's the fun thing.
Yeah. You get very in it.
Yeah,
It's really thrilling.
it's really quite fun to do.
Unless your wood is too difficult, then it becomes very frustrating.
The softwood is what did you say the softwood was? I'm trying to
Shina is the Japanese Shina, Shina plywood, or cherry, as Arthur said, the traditional cherry wood, which is hard. It's harder to carve, but
But
it
it
also
holds up.
holds up really well. Balsa is probably too soft, but this is really soft, the Shina.
Yeah.
Also birch, they use birch. You could use,
And you can
plain old plywood, but the problem is it splinters a little, so then you run into trouble. There is a little repair thing you can try, Arthur might show you, but
There's a-
if you
like a-
make a chip in your drawing, and, I mean, your wood block, and it breaks a piece, and you can't, you know, it ruins the drawing, you can fix it.
They
It's
have
like
like
a-
some wood putties that you have to cut and glue. Or actually something that I've found incredibly helpful, at least with the wood blocks, is just having a little bit of super glue. If a chip comes off that wasn't supposed to, you just glue it right back down. And because it's super fast drying, it usually holds up pretty well.
Is that my alarm? Sorry, I don't know why
I
that's
think
going
so.
on.
And then also, interestingly, with the lino, I don't know if this is like an approved fixing method, but it worked for me. Where over here in the tree, kind of, I don't know if you can see these little lines, but something chipped up there, right here. And so I had noticed when I was carving it that the linoleum sticks to itself, so I just took some off shaves and pressed them down. And there's no glue in there, but it's... Thank you.
It is neat, isn't it? It's a reversal. You show them the print that goes with that. It's really cool. I did that yesterday.
Yeah, we just made it. Oh, that one's really nice. Here it is.
Yeah, it's a good way to keep them. You want to keep them
That's what the tree
protected.
looks like. So this was lucky. Leslie already had this this
Oh yeah, the
this
background.
back
Yeah.
printed, so I just put that black on top of it. And we also did some experiments with this shiny paper. So you can it's really fun to play around with the different kinds of paper. They have these colored papers too that I'm personally a big fan of because I like monocolor, and so getting that color in the paper is just like a fun.
Canvas? Mm-mm. No, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, it's really for canvas.
Yeah, especially because you need to you want to like rub the paper on the back, and so I think the canvas would be a little
Do you
difficult.
kids want to try to roll one piece, just feel what it feels like to roll the ink? Do you want to try it? Or no, you don't have to. Do you want to try it? Here, I'll just put it. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, I'll just put this over here. Just,
Sure. Here, let me put this thing
let me
back.
put some more, just roll it onto there. I'm gonna add some ink. I'm gonna add a color because this is getting a little dry. Let me add, use the roller and push that a few times. And I'm gonna add some, till it mix, yeah, that's okay. Mix it, what's that? How long it takes to dry? The watercolor ones dry faster because, they're thin and watercolor is very light, yes. And then, okay, then when you roll it, just go one direction. Yeah, because otherwise it picks the ink back up. I'm just going to put it there. If you use he's going to show you with the block printing ink. Go ahead. You could just cover it, just keep trying, just cover it. Yeah, the watercolor ink is a little light, so you have to work a little faster because it does dry up fast. Sumi ink is a pitch black that comes from a charred substance that is known, and it makes a very deep black, and you can add it to inks. It's very watery, so you have to put a lot of rice paste. That's good.
So the color you use is
Gouache. Gouache, Gouache. Thank you. Yeah. No. Gouache is a form of watercolor. And like I said, they put a binder in it, so it makes it more opaque. Watercolors are very thin. They're very see-through. Gouache is not. Here, we'll see how this came out, you guys. So I'm gonna lay down the paper. I'm not, yes.
Yep.
And we'll just do this.
Which is an optional step.
And
I
so
rarely
that
wet
the
my
paper doesn't get mangled, I put a piece of wax paper. That helps it so it doesn't break down, because the fibers are a little bit delicate with the Asian paper. There's, and then does somebody want to pull it up? Do you want any kids, you want to pull it up? Try it. Just
That's the
gently
best
take
part.
the two corners and pull them up. You can say you pulled a print. Nice, good job. Hey, very good. So there's another. Now, this one I had carved away a lot because I told you I did it as a reduction print, so there's not much left on this block to really see except for the windows of the fire escape. So that's maybe not the greatest example. Do you want to do the block printing ink? Show your
Sure.
crow? Because the crow will be really good to see.
Sure.
Okay. 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 That's enough time, right?
Yeah.
I can help you too.
Oh, yeah, so. Sure. Sure, this one is, in that Shina, how do you pronounce it? I've only seen it typed.
Which?
This good carving.
Sheena plywood?
Sheena plywood. So this
Yeah.
is that really nice wood
Mm-hmm.
to carve.
So when you carve the pictures, you like make a deep scratch for the picture, or the picture to leave?
He just, I think you did a drawing on the block?
Yeah.
Is that
so,
what you did?
Yeah, I had a drawing that I did, and I used this carbon paper to transfer it. You can kind of see some of that red line in his feet over here from my original carbon transfer.
'Cause he used this red paper is two-sided carbon paper.
Where the lines are would be moved, so that
That's right, that's right.
Yeah.
Or you have two choices. You could carve away the negative space or the positive space, if you know what that means. You can do both. If you want a really sharp print, you can do both. In this case, Arthur is making a white line print, so he's only wants one color pretty much, mostly. And so the lines are the negative space, so he carved the lines.
Yeah.
So you'll see.
I've done-
Actually, show you, can I show them the block?
Sure.
So he did the line, for the crow.
Actually, this is a really good
The
one.
crow, he did the line, he carved away the lines, and
To
in the
see.
background, he carved away the negative space, so it's both, yeah. Yeah, it is. I love the blocks.
Right?
They
Here,
can be
you
very
can-
nice.
This might be a good one to show negative and positive. 'cause
yeah,
It
yeah.
flips halfway through.
Yeah, and this one he did the opposite. He carved away the negative space up top of the tree, and on the bottom, he carved away sorry, I just said the opposite. He carved away the negative space here and the positive space here. Yeah, I said it right. That one's a linoleum block.
Cutie.
And you could use any kind of paper you want, but there's some papers that are better than others in terms of quality.
See, I don't wet my papers as much. it works out. This is let's see. You really want to add a lot of pressure, and when you have the really nice thin paper like this, when you're pressing it, you can see your image like seeping through into the ink, and that's how you know you've got like a really nice deep color on it. This one I can't. Actually, you can kind of see.
Do you want me to spray it a little or not?
Maybe in a second, but like
Okay.
even on this newsprint, you can kind of see. I don't know if you can that image peeking through a little bit. And then if you spray it, it gets, even more clear. So with this print, I wanted to. They're like, you can see the background, foreground, and oh, here we go.
Isn't that nice?
So what was really fun is I love like these like vertical lines are very kind of, they feel very traditional wood print to me. Like you see a lot there. They're very frequently kind of left.
Yeah, some people, they want that that line, and some people want to get rid of it so you can't see it at all. It's just a
But-
choice.
It almost always shows up. But so I wanted to keep it, and I used the vertical versus horizontal to kind of illustrate the different planes of trees and then water, and then totally carving them away to get that foreground in these little plants. That's kind of what it's a very similar process. Oh, that one came out really nice.
It came out great.
Something that's also really important to notice is that when you look at these things, you'll see that the crows face different ways. So the images always reverse.
Yeah, if
So-
you're doing a word, you have to remember to do the reverse, the mirror image. 'Cause it
Yeah,
comes
that's
out.
something that, there was a time where I wanted to type out Tree of Life, so I had to carve that entirely backwards if you wanted to, actually, I bet we can do a little ink of that. So you can see it a little better. I'm just gonna use the back of this.
The nice thing about water-based inks, which both of these are water soluble, is they're easy to clean up. If you use oil-based inks, you have to use tougher chemicals to get things cleaned up.
Yeah. See, so to print forwards, we have to type backwards, which is very, you gotta
That's a
like
talent.
think about it.
Oil thing. So my kids play around and then with the oil thing, which
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's a good idea because the paint brushes are like, they didn't clean it or anything.
Oh, they're stiff, yeah. No, you have to, so you need to have something that the kids shouldn't touch, which is Gamsol or turpentine, because after you use oil paints, you should, after you dip them in turpentine to get the paint out, and then you use soap and water and gently rub the brush. You have to get it with soap and water afterwards to soften it, because they get ruined, yeah. You can't bring them back once they get ruined, unfortunately. Yeah. Do you want to do your tree, or is
Sure.
that?
Well,
you
I
have a
just
minute?
printed the bottom half of it, but I can print the top half.
Oh, Oh, I was a student at the Corcoran College, what's that?
I was going to say, I think it's time for the Q&A.
Okay,
Oh, nice.
Q&A, perfect. I was a student at the Corcoran College of Art studying mostly photography, but I fell in love with, I took painting and printmaking, and was so lucky to meet a teacher who was I never had any great teachers my whole life until I met him. But he is a very generous soul, and today even you'll meet so many people who knew him because he left that kind of legacy. He died a couple years ago. He got a terrible disease of some sort, but he was in his 70s, but he was such a generous printmaker, and he loved collaborating with other people. So as a teacher, he had great qualities. And also, I took from him privately for a couple years before he got sick. So I learned so much. Not only woodblock printing, I also did screen printing, which is a totally different art. But that's how I got into it. Just having a really good teacher, which helps.
Look, I also have,
Oh, that's fun.
like, this is just like a champagne cork, but I have my little initials carved in, and I put them
So
on
he
this
doesn't
thing,
have to
too.
sign his
So I don't
name,
have to
he
sign
has a
anything
little-
anymore.
Like, you know how, have you ever
these
seen
hands.
traditional Chinese paintings? They use the chop, they call it. They have a name carved. It's similar idea, right?
Yeah, it was just fun. And
With it
I'm
just-
lucky that the symbol that I got for my initial is very easily reversible. It took a little,
AK. That's
yeah.
really cool. Do you have any other questions?
I guess like the tools we need,
Yeah.
if we can like, I don't know,
I could give you the name. There's only, like, if, believe it or not, any art supply store, you could say woodblock carving tools and it'll come up. But there's one place in the United States that has all the good supplies for woodblock printing, and it's called McLain's, MCCLAINS.
branded
They're in Oregon.
it's right down here. probably.
MCCLAINS. And,
is it online? Or
yeah, yeah. And they can send you, there's the name there. There's, yeah,
It's
that.
branded on
Believe it or
a lot
not,
of stuff
if you
around
can,
here.
it seems amazing to me that in our whole country, there's really, I mean, you can buy the stuff from other supplies, but they are the ones that are specialized and have everything.
Mhm.
Um,
Could you talk more about like really simple ways to get started? Like you were saying you could carve a
Sure. Oh, actually,
if you didn't even have.
yeah.
there is this phenomenal stuff called Easy Carve. That's where I kind of started in it, and it is literally styrofoam. It's a
Oh,
very
yeah.
thin styrofoam sheet, and you can literally use a pencil, the back of your hand,
Oh, yeah.
anything you want, and you just carve into it like that, and then you ink it up exactly the same way.
Very
I've made
good
a
for
few-
children.
Yeah, great for children. That's where, and also me. I am child.
Well, you did start as a child.
I did, but I mean, when I started doing those, it was it doesn't. But I made like a really nice set of 7 prints with that. They were very simple, but they had like a nice Art Deco feel. So that's a really good, super cheap, super easy. You don't need any carving
What's
tools.
it called again?
I think it's called Easy Carve.
Easy
But
carve.
like easy.
So it's little
or
thin
easy
pieces
press,
of styrofoam.
Very thin press. Yeah,
You can get it on Amazon, I guess.
I'm sure. And you can get a lot of it. They come in like paper size, and it's really fun to like. What I've also started to do with that stuff a lot is you like cut it in half, and then you can make. I've started making like birthday cards and stuff for people with it. But that's because I can write really well backwards. So first practice your backwards handwriting, to get happy birthday, and then start carving stuff. It's also because I do a lot of more abstract work, where it's just fun line stuff, and so that's a really good way to start. I would say starting with like holding in like the X-Acto knives that have a nice handle and are easy to move is a good carving tool to start with.
But if you're using that styrofoam, you only need a pencil.
Yeah, if you're using the styrofoam, you just need a pencil.
Here's
Or-
can you see the grain of the wood? There's an example. You can see the grain of the wood. So if I sanded this down a little, you actually could see it in the print. Some people really like to see that. And Edward Munch, who was a famous Austrian painter, he did a bunch of woodblock prints, and he liked to show the grain of the wood.
Mhm.
Is that roller thing, what's it called?
This is called a brayer, and those, yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And this is the more traditional one, but yes, because it's really solid and big.
But they come in all sizes. Yeah, she has
This
this
is
adorable.
Speedball. You were talking about that earlier. That Speedball is a big maker of a lot of the basics, right?
Yeah. So I think.
And that thing that you rub it with, after that.
The Baron, yeah, the
Yeah,
Baron.
a Baron is also, it's like a luxury tool because you can, again, use the back of a wooden spoon. I used literally this popsicle stick on some of these tree prints because it's really nice to get those like clean lines.
That seems very cool, the one with the bamboo thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the traditional Japanese one, and
That's a
it
really
comes
nice
with
one.
like geranium oil, which I've never used, but that, if you really want to get into the Japanese tools, that's their traditional one. And I guess after time, if you wear it down, there's a way to repair it and put more bamboo on it. That's a bamboo leaf or something like that, yeah. It's called a Baron, B-A-R-E-N. Here's, you can see the wording on the back, B-A-R-E-N. And it's got a Baron.
Bear, Baron.
Yeah, I know, Brayer and Baron, it always
Right.
gets me confused. And they actually have all kinds of Japanese names for these traditional things. This one's called like bokashi. That's kind of fun, but not necessary at all. And rice paste, you can make your own with some rice starch. That's very cheap stuff to thicken the paint if you're using watercolors.
So you don't need to thicken the wall.
Gouache, no, you do, because gouache is a kind of watercolor.
Yeah.
This one you don't. You can put some stuff in it to make it dry slower, called extender, but you don't have to thicken it because it comes out of the tube ready. It's called block printing ink, and it comes right out of the tube, block printing ink. And that's all the art suppliers make that.
And then you can also get it as to print on a shirt. I've done some block printing, but you need more specific screen print or fabric
Oh, yeah.
inks. But it's pretty much the exact same process. It's just your paper is a shirt. I also want to for the crow one. This is a good example of a varied edition. So I have the special Halloween on rust paper. There's kind of like the one we just did with more black ink, and then there's like this blue variation. But they're all part of the same edition, and that's like when you're. I just learned how to label them, so we'll see. So there are 13 of them because it's my special Halloween edition, and the VE stands for varied edition, unless you're French, and then it's EV. For,
Process, if you want to like print a picture that you did from a wood block to like fabric or shirt.
You can do that, but you do have to use the inks that are meant for fabric. And those are also available at art supply stores. It says fabric, some of the inks can be used fabric or paper, but it is a special ink.
yeah.
Yeah.
And some of the fabric inks just need to dry. Some of them you need to like iron them on first before they're machine washable. I have, yeah. I've printed
I
on some
didn't bring any
t-shirts.
with us, but you've done a couple T-shirts, right?
Yeah, I did. It's really fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he
Well,
has
actually,
he has
that
a
one-
really nice, show the back of your phone. That shows
Oh,
the-
well, yeah, this is
yeah.
more traditionally my style of these crazy. And then this is one of my first attempt. This is a woodblock print in that style. You gotta get. So this is the one that I printed on shirts, but it has to fit vertically.
So is Washington Printmakers Gallery where y'all
Well, I'm a member and Arthur is an associate, so it has 20 members or 21 members, and we're in a place in Georgetown that we circulate shows every month. One artist has a show. But we also like new people coming in. You should come by sometime. Yeah, that would be great. It's just at the top of the hill in Georgetown, basically, right on Wisconsin, 1641.
Right next to Manny and Olga's Pizza.
Well,
There you go. You know the printmaker. That's
unfortunately, their sign dominates.
well, it's good free marketing. You say right next to Manny and Olga's, and everyone knows exactly where you are.
Oh,
That's fun.
oh no. I took one class in lithography, and it is a very, very different process. I have to say, it was not for me, but it's very physically demanding. It has like 20 steps. I mean, this is nothing compared to lithography. You start with a stone that you can't lift unless you have a little, what are those called? Like a pneumatic pump, because it's so heavy. It weighs about 200 pounds. And then the first thing you have to do is, if someone else, the stones no longer exist, so you have to use stones that exist. That quarry is gone in Germany, where they come from. So the first thing you have to do is use this big metal thing and carve down the stone from any previous design. And I'm telling you, that's like an hour of work, and you use different sanding things to get it. That's the first step. And then the second step, I can't remember them all in order, but there are 19 steps. And it involves some nitroglycerin. So you're basically going to be taking a drawing with a grease pen into a stone, then treating it with nitroglycerin and rubbing out very, very heavy ink and putting it through a press at a very high pressure. I know the nitroglycerin thing is scary. You have to be careful with that. But it's not for me. Etching is carving into a plate, usually a copper plate. It could be different kinds of plates. Yeah, but it involves acid. You have to use acid wash, and you have to be careful too. It's another one that you have to be very careful with the chemicals. Let's see. Yeah, there's something called aquatint, which I don't actually, I can't describe because I don't know it very well. Lithography, aquatint, relief printing, which linoleum block and wood block are among. What else? There's a few other kinds of print. Screen printing. Screen printing is really fun, but it requires some equipment. You make an exposure like a photograph almost on a screen that you've coated with emulsion, Then you take water and push it through the emulsion, and you end up with an image. And then you squeeze ink through a screen onto the paper. And you can do it in many layers.
The equipment for that is here, right? There wasn't, like, I can't get it for where people make them, they have.
They had what?
Like a thing to do screen.
Oh, really?
We actually have you may have seen the Cry-Cut t-shirt printers.
I did also see that, yes.
I believe it's actually called the Cricut. It's not available yet, but it's going to be
Uh-huh.
It looks, some motions are very similar, but you have to get like paper with the design on it.
Here's a couple other woodblock prints. This was one that of a man drinking out of a bottle that I did with 3 colors. This is a more basic one. This is from a place in Greece, so there would be 4 colors, right? Blue, another shade of blue, yellow, and there's like a brown.
So put color, wash it, put another color.
That's right. Well, no, actually, yes. I think, it looks actually like we did them separately to me, because they're not, you see, they're not blended?
Yeah.
Yeah. This one is just a black and white. That's the escalator in Henleytown. I was so impressed with the shiny new escalator.
It's about to fall off.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, go.
Very scary look that I.
It never works. Yeah, I did a show based on the theme of iron and steel, and this is some oil rigs in the Ukraine, actually. Yeah, there's the tree done on the yellow background. Yes, and it has the 21 different artists, so you'll see me as one of them. Here's this one I really like. This is a pedestrian bridge in Little Rock, Arkansas. That one I pretty much traced a photograph I had. So then I did 3 colors, the light green, the dark blue, and then the purple. Yeah, I like the way it kind of draws you in. Yeah, I sold 3 of those. I was very happy. Yeah. So, yeah, I hope you'll try it sometime. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you.
And I feel like that's reaching the natural end of the talk for today. Yeah, so I just wanted to thank you all for coming. Thank you for being patient with us with our tech issues. And I wanted to thank Leslie and Arthur.
Sure, you're welcome. You're welcome. It was fun for us. I'm glad you all could come.
I just want you guys to know before you go, we do have other Maker Talks available online. They're on our YouTube channel, which is the DC Public Library on YouTube. We have a playlist called The Labs at DC Public Library, and our former talks are there. We have a huge array of talks. We've got people that do cookie decorating,
Wow.
quilting,
I'm going to look at those.
people talk about fine art, so it's pretty much anything and everything is what we're doing.
Fantastic.
Unfortunately, I can't give you the date for the next Maker Talk. Usually they're monthly, but we're trying to work out our November schedule right now. So I recommend checking online to see when our next Maker Talk is going to be. And thank you so much. Hope to see you again in the lab.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Yeah, maybe you'll try it. Did you say you had once, or?
I think I did something with the EC card that he was talking about. Reading block.
It's white and flat,
The
but maybe there was
styrofoam?
something similar.
Yeah.
A stamp making class. I was